This is Neural Newscast for Sunday, August 16th, 2026.
Here are the stories that matter this morning.
From Neural Newscast, I'm Peter Rowan.
And I'm Isabel Moreno.
Ukraine has launched one of its most extensive aerial attacks of the conflict so far, deploying hundreds of drones to strike targets deep inside Russia, including Moscow.
Russia's Ministry of Defense reports destroying 822 Ukrainian drones overnight. Roughly 600 of those were reportedly headed toward the capital.
The strikes resulted in at least 7 deaths in Russia and ignited a massive fire at a warehouse belonging to the retailer Wildberries in Podolsk.
The focus on logistics appears to be a strategic choice by Kyiv, aimed at disrupting both the Russian economy and public perception of the war.
It certainly is, Isabel. By targeting these massive distribution hubs, Ukraine is bringing the reality of the conflict directly to Russian military supply chains and the general public.
In retaliation, Russia launched a wave of missiles and drones, striking 13 regions across Ukraine, hitting several civilian infrastructure sites.
A ballistic missile strike in Kyiv killed 2 people and wounded 14 others at a steel plant, while a separate fire destroyed a book market in Kyiv.
President Zelensky noted that Russian forces are striking wherever their ballistic missiles can reach, specifically pointing to non-military sites like the Pokchina district.
This intensification comes as a Spanish fighter jet on NATO duty shot down a drone that breached Romanian airspace near the Ukrainian border.
The Romanian Ministry of Defense confirmed the F-18 interception early Sunday, noting that debris fell in an unpopulated area of the Galati region.
The volume of activity this week has been staggering. Russia alone launched over 1,500 attack drones and 62 missiles in just 7 days.
As both sides trade long-range strikes, the conflict is increasingly shifting toward an aerial war focused on degrading infrastructure and morale.
Turning now to East Asia, where Japan is marking the 81st anniversary of its surrender in World War II.
Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi opted not to visit the Yasukuni Shrine in Tokyo this year, in what appears to be a move to avoid straining relations with regional neighbors.
Yasukuni remains deeply controversial because it commemorates 2.4 million war dead, including 14 individuals convicted as World War II war criminals.
While Takaichi stayed away, her defense minister and several other cabinet members did visit the shrine to offer prayers.
Isabel, how are Beijing and Seoul responding to these visits from other high-ranking Japanese officials?
Both have issued sharp protests. China's foreign ministry accused Japan of attempting to cover up wartime atrocities and accelerating militarization.
South Korea's foreign ministry echoed those sentiments, calling the visits an anachronistic act that disregards the history of Japan's colonial rule.
Interestingly, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung struck a more pragmatic tone, emphasizing that cooperation between Tokyo and Seoul is now more vital than ever.
In her official speech at Nippon Budokan Hall, Prime Minister Takaichi vowed that Japan would never let the tragedy of war be repeated.
However, she stopped short of expressing remorse or acknowledging Japan's wartime aggression in Asia, breaking from decades of precedent.
Emperor Naruhito maintained a separate tone, expressing deep remorse and hoping the memories of wartime suffering are passed down to younger generations.
This ideological divide within the government highlights Japan's ongoing struggle to reconcile its pacifist present with its imperial past.
Next, we look at a growing trend in Silicon Valley, where tech executives are using manifestos to shape the narrative around artificial intelligence.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg recently published a 6,500-word letter titled "The Future is for Everyone," making the case for open-source AI models.
Zuckerberg argues that sharing code openly will accelerate innovation and prevent the technology from being controlled by a handful of massive corporations.
That vision contrasts with warnings from the IMF, which states that AI could impact 40% of global jobs and worsen financial inequality.
It is a bold stance, Isabel, especially as Meta recently cut about 10% of its own workforce while pivoting to focus on these very technologies.
The Zuckerberg letter follows similar manifestos from Mark Andreessen and Sam Altman, who claim themselves as techno-optimists, pushing back against a doom-filled discourse.
While these leaders push for rapid development, critics like Noah Smith ask if it's safe to open source models that could eventually develop catastrophic capabilities.
As the market for open-source AI becomes increasingly competitive with Chinese models like Qwen and DeepSeek, Western firms are feeling the pressure to lead through transparency.
Here is what else we're watching.
In Ukraine, rescue operations continue in Kryvyi Rih as workers search the rubble of the steel plant hit by a Russian ballistic missile on Saturday.
In the Middle East, former President Donald Trump has made a controversial statement, claiming he would declare the Strait of Hormuz a United States territory if re-elected.
The declaration, made during a campaign stop in New York, has already drawn attention from international legal experts and regional powers in the Persian Gulf.
Finally, we are monitoring the diplomatic fallout in Beijing as the Chinese Foreign Ministry considers further formal responses to the Japanese shrine visits.
Tomorrow, we will examine the latest quarterly earnings reports from global logistics firms to see how the recent disruptions in the Black Sea are impacting shipping rates.
This has been Neural Newscast. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Isabel Moreno.
And I'm Peter Rowan.
Neural Newscast is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. View our AI transparency policy at neuralnewscast.com.